We'll speak about security both locally and internationally, and we thank you for making time to have this conversation with us. Let's get started, because at this moment we remember hearing you on the eve of the transition of the year between 2022 and 2023, and you spoke about a conversation the country will have in 3 months' time about the cost of electricity. We look at how much one has to pay. If you, for instance, you have a bill, you pay 4,000 shillings, and you get your units, about 152 units, you find that 30% is going to fuel energy charge. You also find that the token amount is only 47%, actually less than half the amount that you're paying. And also remember, recently there was a report, a task force by your predecessor that came out and saw that we're paying so much for the cost of energy. Even if you have this conversation in 3 months' time, what will change?
Cost of living, sum, is a sum total of many things. It's not just energy, right? It's a combination of, in fact, the biggest contributor to the cost of living is the cost of food. Many households spend up to 52% of their monthly income on food. Therefore, if we seriously want to attack the cost of living jigsaw, we must deal with the cost of food. And it is the reason why cost of living was a big part of the conversation Kenyans had in this election. And all of us made commitments in many ways. I did. And it's the reason why when I came into office, the very first thing, among the very first things I did, is to begin the journey to bring back the country to the trajectory of food production. I ordered immediately that we supply 1.5 million bags of fertilizer for the farmers in the short range category. I have progressed that. We now have the first 200,000 metric tons of fertilizer already landed in the country. We intend, as we have done, we've reduced the cost from about 6,000 to 3,500. I have also instructed that we work with even the land parcels we have within government, ADC, NYS, prisons, to make sure that we use them to produce farm inputs, including seeds, and making sure that we are self-sufficient. I have also worked out with the cabinet to ensure that, since we already have a gap that is obvious because of the kind of harvest we've had, the unreliability of rain, the high cost of inputs have contributed to where we are, you know. And for your information, Sam, this is a journey. We didn't get here yesterday.
Right.
We got here because we took 3 years not making the right decisions. We suspended the fertilizer subsidy program. We never intervened when farmers were asking for farm inputs. Today, I am promising the farmers of Kenya, just the same way we supplied the first 1.5 million acres, 1.5 million bags of fertilizer, we will supply 6 million bags of subsidized fertilizer to our farmers. We will make sure that they have the correct seed. We will ensure that they have the correct support. We are now working on mechanization. We have a program with Agricultural Finance Corporation to make sure that we increase the mechanization of our agriculture. We are currently at around 40%. We want to drive it to 80%. These are some of the interventions that fell through when we didn't get our trajectory right. But what I said, speaking to what you have said on cost of energy,
right,
there was an attempt, you know, which was not well thought out, to try and introduce subsidies in that space, which failed miserably, because we were spending 3 billion shillings every year to subsidize energy. There was no increase in consumption of electricity. There was no reduction of any products that were coming out of our factories. There was no increase of people who are getting employed because we had brought subsidy. It was just a waste. You know, nobody benefited. The consumers did not benefit. So it ended up just lining the bottom line of a few companies and a few people.
Right.
So what I have insisted and what government of Kenya is going to do, we are going to support production of food. We are going to interrogate the cost of energy, right? We have 3-4 lines which I have instructed. We're going to spend 1 billion shillings to sort out 3 lines of transmission, 3 transmission lines, so that we can retire the plant we have in Moroni that is producing energy at 52 US cents, which is, you know, we are getting power from our hydros at 4 US cents. Can you compare between 4 US cents and 52? And it's because we have power in Takwel, which we are not using maximum because of a transmission line. We have other hydros that we are not using because of transmission line. So I have already instructed that we complete those transmission lines within the next 10 months so that we make sure that we bring down the cost of energy, because we will retire some of the thermal power that is causing this huge cost. Right.
So what do you do to the PPAs, the power purchase agreements and the independent power producers? Because according to the task force report, it was talking about the power cost for the financial year 2020, it was 87 billion shillings, which is 66% of the sales. They went ahead to say that, yes, the Kenyan was contributing about 72% of the power, but the resources that they were taking is about 48%. For the independent power producers, they are giving Kenya Power about 25% of power, but they're taking away about 47% of the payments. So how do you deal with that even as you go to the different transmission lines?
Precisely. First, the turbine we are retiring in Moroni belongs to government. It's a Kenyan turbine. So that we will have no conversation. We will just retire that. Then we will have to have a candid discussion with our thermal energy producers. And for your information, we need them. The problem is, for the last 5 years, we haven't generated much of power. We have 400 megawatts of capped geothermal energy, which I have instructed that we should move with speed to unlock that potential. Because much as we want to retire the thermal power, we have a challenge of the amount of supply of power during the peak hours. So we are juggling between making sure that we use what we have efficiently, we generate the much more efficient power sources so that we can begin the journey to retire the thermal ones. But this requires a consistent, you know, approach and consistent follow-up. And that's what I intend to do.
All right. Your Excellency, going back to the cost of living,